Hey guys, welcome to the SRS Files podcast, episode number 2. Now, I gave some thought to the podcast, and I'm going to change it from the SRS Files to the SRS Files / institutionalized. Now, with that being said, we have a crazy episode coming up now with a guest who has a great story, probably one of my favorites I've recorded so far, and I decided to kind of let this one go now opposed to playing it later just because I think it's so great and I want people to see it. So with that being said, let's get into it. This is episode number 2 with Adam. And yeah, let's get into it. Hey everybody, welcome to the SRS Files podcast. We got our guest Adam today. And why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself and where you're from and what you do?
So my name's Adam Baumbach, 43. I'm out here in California. I'm back. I was raised in Modesto. I'm back home now, but after Sorensons, I kind of lived all over the place, but I've been back here like the last 10 years. So.
And how old were you when you went to Sorensons Ranch?
I had just turned 15. So I want to say I was there like 93 to 95.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah.
So I was there 2002, 2003. So probably around 10 years prior to when I was there.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Okay. I love hearing people's stories from, different times and whatnot. Yeah. I did one recently with someone who was there in the early 90s as well. And I think it's just interesting to hear everybody's perspective, especially from the further back it goes. It seems like it's almost crazier,
Yeah, it was wild back then. Like I know we were talking earlier, like that first year that I was there, it was really wild. And like
how long were you there?
I was there 2 years. I got out when I was 17, and I just went straight to like living on my own. Like that first guy that you had on, like his folks were like, we don't want you to come back here and get back into the same stuff. Mine was kind of the same way. So I ended up going to Alabama from Sorensons, and I had my own place and everything, but I had an aunt out there in case like I got in trouble or whatever. I had somebody to help me out.
So I usually like to start it off with like talking about the pickup, because that's usually a great place to kind of start the story, because it's from when you got picked up to how you got to there. Do you at all remember your pickup?
Oh yeah, 100%. I was actually on the run, and I was doing methamphetamines. I was pretty twacked out. I got started doing that stuff at a pretty young age, and I was on the run for like, I don't know, a few weeks, and I guess my parents were looking for me. They had like bags packed, in their vehicle. And but I was always like, they had like private investigator like looking for me and everything, but I was always just like kind of a couple steps ahead of them. And the night they actually found me, I was at my buddy's house. We were getting ready to jam up to San Francisco, and my plan at the time was, I'm just going to stay in San Francisco. We're going to go up there, party, but I'm going to stay up there. I'm just going to be a street kid, because I knew they were looking for me, and like, you can really get lost in the city, So, so what happened, like my buddy's parents were out of town, but like they knew somebody that knew him, and they like got permission to just basically like run up in the house and like snatch me up. Right. Well, yeah. When I seen him coming, I was like, fuck this, I'm out of here, and I tried to jet, and but my dad like snatched me up, and so I was just like fighting with them, and it got pretty physical. It was a pretty big fight, and So they ended up calling the police, and they called the police. I found out after the fact, just so they could hold me, you know, they just so they could keep me in one spot, right? And what their plan was, once they got me, they were gonna drive me to Utah themselves. Well, once I start fighting with them, they're like, "Oh yeah, we can't do this," you know. And so I go to jail. I was in there for the night, and uh, you know, I'm like twacked out of my mind, not no sleeping. I'm just like tripping out, you know, in the cell, you know. And I got into it with the officers. I was like fighting with them. Um, and then, but like the next day, they're like, they gave me my bag full of stuff. They're like, "You're out of here." And I'm like, "Okay." So I get checked out, and like my folks are there, and I'm walking down this hallway of the jail, and I'm like telling my mom, I'm like, "Give me my cigarettes," you know, blah, blah, blah. She's like, I can. I'm like, "What the fuck you mean you can't? Give me my fucking cigarettes," you know? And she just kept telling me she couldn't, right? Well, I kind of broke off to hit the there was a drinking fountain, right? And as soon as I separated from them and I was like drinking out of that fountain, I could see two big ass dudes like at the door, and they're getting like kind of like little antsy, you know. I'm like, "What the fuck? Something's going on," you know. And I'm just like drinking, like watching these dudes out of the corner of my eye. And so we get outside, and like these dudes just actually right before I got outside, I was like, "Give me my cigarettes." She's like, "I can't." I'm like, "Why not?" She was like, "They won't let me." I'm like, what the fuck
Ooh,
is going on here?"
yeah.
And they just handcuffed me behind my back, right? And it wasn't anybody that worked at Sorensons. It was like some other dudes. They were actually from Canada. They were like ex CFL players or whatever, and that's what these guys do, you know?
Wow.
Yeah, yeah, like big old boys. And they threw me in the back of like a little like Volkswagen Rabbit, right? Handcuffed behind my back with, and these are big guys, so they got the seats kicked back, like, you know, I'm just like fucking sandwiched in there, you know. And they kept me handcuffed until we got out of the state of California, behind my back. And it wasn't until we crossed state lines then they let me put the cuffs in front. But I was like handcuffed the whole time, you know, driving in the back with these dudes, you know. So um,
So did they
that was,
tell you, did they tell you where you were going?
they didn't tell me. They just they told me that I was going to a facility.
Well, they
But
probably had no idea either. If they're from Canada, they
yeah,
didn't work there. They're probably like getting paid to do the pickup because maybe
yeah,
you were like some kind of special case where you're maybe more like a tougher guy that wasn't able to
yeah.
be taken down so easily.
Well, that's the thing. Like, you know, like you know, since I was doing dope, so much dope, like I was hella paranoid. You know, like I slept, and you know, like well, when I was in my bed, you know, I would pretend like I was sleeping or whatever in case somebody came in. I was like ready for war, dude. Like I had knives in my bed. Like I always thought the cops were after me. You know, like doing dope. You know, but like if them old boys, like if Sorenson's try to scoop me out of my house, like it probably would have ended up pretty bad, you know.
So
So
they probably had some warning from your parents, or
yeah,
there was some type of they had some type of information to, and they wanted to have you there because they know how much it costs to send a kid there, and
right.
you know, and there's a will, there's a way. So they figure, okay, we got to get this guy
Yeah,
into the ranch, and when we're good.
yeah, yeah. My mom would like, you know, like when I was out and about, like I'd come home, she's like, "Dude, what are these fucking crazy knives you got in your bed?" You know, and then she would like take it from me, and I would just either, you know, find them later on or just get new ones, you know, like
You're like, because I don't want to go to Sorenson's Ranch, okay?
yeah.
So,
So
what was your first impressions of after the pickup and you first got to SRS? What was it like there, first of all, at that time? And what was it like your first impression there?
so like we got there like pretty early in the morning, like the sun was just coming up, you know. I'm like, what the fuck is this? You know, there's like we're like in the middle of nowhere, you know. And I'm like seeing animals and you know, like I thought all the kids like looked hella weird, you know, like I'm like, what the fuck? And Norm, was Norm there when you were there? Yeah, he's the one who in processed me, right? Like strip searched me and everything. I'm like, dude, like I came from jail, like, and these guys, like, this isn't necessary, you know? And he just had some like, you know, smart ass, like fucking shit to say to me, that fucking guy, you know.
Like he wasn't being
He's
very nice.
no, that dude is a fucking asshole, you know. Um, like I still like have issues with that fool, you know. Um,
I'll get my friend, someone I interviewed
anyways,
recently, to send me the picture of him, and you can see what he looks like again, because it was weird for me to see a picture of him because I didn't even
yeah,
remember who he is, and I just said
yeah,
that's Norm, and I'm like I can't even remember who he is. It's been 20 years for me, so
yeah. It was a recent picture from when he was there.
it was from when I was there, so
Uh,
2002.
yeah, send that to me if you don't mind. I'd like to
Yeah, I'm
see.
gonna get my friend to
Yeah,
send it to me.
all
I'll send
right.
it to you. Yeah.
But yeah, so I got like checked in. Um, like it's a little like, you know, hazy for me, you know, like I think I stayed in the lodge, you know, for like the first like night or two, you know.
Yeah, that sounds
And
familiar.
yeah, and then I like got in a cabin, right? Well, I didn't know how anything worked, you know. I didn't know you had to get up and go to school. I didn't know how, you know, like I figured like I was there for like, you know, fucking rehab, you know. So but like I was coming down off dope, man. Like I had been on a long ass run, like, you know, like a 2 year run, you know, like hardly getting any sleep, just being wild, you know. And I wake up one morning, like everybody's gone, you know, but I'm like just exhausted. Like I have zero energy. Like I haven't been eating, I haven't been sleeping, none of this. That Norm guy, he came in to the cabin, ripped me off the top bunk, dude, start kicking the shit out of me. He's like, you need to be in fucking school, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, dude, what is going on? Like, you
Like
know, like,
physically being the shit out of you,
oh
or
yeah, dude, like kicking me in the stomach, like my ribs, like, yeah. That was after he ripped me off the top bunk, you know. So yeah. And I was just like, what the hell's going on? Like shell shocked, you know, like here's this dude just fucking ripping me out of bed, you know,
I
fucking
know
me up.
exactly what you mean. My first night I was there, I went into first or second night there. I went into the cabin and they put me on this bed, and right there was someone else, and it was like upstairs in one of the cabins. And then the one of the big Tongan guys named like Tavita, I don't know if he was there back then, came up the stairs, and he said like something to us. It was my first, I don't know what's going on. And then I might have just like said something, maybe like a hair rude, like just like the tiniest rude maybe ever, just kind of being like, okay, or maybe sarcastic or something. The guy fucking picks me up, throws me down the stairs, puts his arms around me, and that was my first impression of that place too.
Yeah.
So I know exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like, fuck, here we go, dude. You know?
Yeah,
Um,
from that point on, I never got in trouble again because I knew how crazy this place was.
yeah. I definitely got in a lot more trouble too. uh, we'll definitely get into that. Yeah, so that happened. I remember Tom Baldwin like calling me upstairs, right? And like they had like it's like where they kept like all the boxes of candy and, you know, all that stuff. I don't know, like we had a vending machine there, and I don't know if that's what they would fill it up with, like that was like their stockpile or whatever. And he's like giving me the lowdown, blah blah blah. And he's like, look, dude, like these fucking kids, they'll rat you out for that fucking candy bar right there, you know. So you're either gonna program or you're not, you know. And I was just like, what the hell? People are fucking rat on people for a candy bar, like, you know, like it was just like, I don't know, it was foreign to me, you know. So yeah.
So so what so Tell me about the level system.
So there was 5 levels when I was there. And I think like fourth, one being the lowest, or isolation was the lowest. And then one, you're still up shit creek, but it's not, you weren't isolation or whatever, and then second level you had like minor privileges. I think they start you off on level 2 is what it was, like when I got there. And then 3, I didn't see any upper levels until like my second year I was there.
It was that hard to get to them.
I mean, I just, like, I don't know, back then, like if you smoked a cigarette, they didn't drop you a level or anything like that. You just had to do like some work hours or whatever. Anytime I could get a cigarette or anything, I would fucking do it. I wouldn't care, like whatever, dude. I'll pick up trash for an hour, all week or whatever it was. That didn't bother me. But I just, like, yeah.
Was it hard? Was it hard to get cigarettes when you were there?
Uh, it was until it wasn't. Like me and my buddies, like, ended up having a nice little hustle with like cigarettes.
I remember you telling me something about this when we were talking
Yeah.
earlier.
So like, I can tell you right now.
Yeah, let's get into it. Might as well.
Yeah. So like that second year, things were a lot better, like as far as like staff members not fucking beating us down like crazy, we ended up getting like more privileges. I was like one of the first people like to be able to go. They would drive us down to Provo, I think it was, at the college. And so what we would do, like the staff member, like they would van us down there, and they would go take off, go like watch a movie or whatever while we were in class. They would get to go do the driver's ed. And so we would jet over to the 7-Eleven or whatever it was. There's college kids around and be like, hey dude, can you buy me some cigarettes, some chewing tobacco, whatever, dude, we were bringing in fucking cartons, and like back then we were selling them for $2 a cigarette, so yeah, when I got out of there, dude, like I had a fat stack of cash on me. Like
that's crazy.
Yeah, dude, we were getting like logs of chewing tobacco, like that's when it came like 10 cans to a pack. Like we had multiple, like we had cartons.
How are you sneaking it in? Just putting it down your pants or something?
Well, just in our backpacks. They weren't really searching us,
So it was like it was part of driver's ed class?
Yeah, we're on higher levels, so we did have some trust, so yeah, like they never like searched us on our way back.
Would you say to get to those higher levels at that point, you were kind of just used to how things were ran there and you're kind of playing the game?
Yeah, for sure. But at the same time, like that first year was just like rough, but that second year, like with them like being a lot more relaxed, it kind of made it easier. I wasn't so much like fuck you guys.
That sounds actually like kind of like a nice break.
It was,
because when I was there was no way that anybody was getting any cigarettes, and if they were, it was rolled up tobacco butts and Bible paper.
Yeah, we did that, like, yeah, we did that same shit too. We went anytime anybody went to town, like, people were picking up cigarette butts or anything. Like they used to take us bowling. We would jack like packs of coffee. It was like a lower level like activity, but we would take coffee and we'd go to the kitchen and be like, hey, we want to mop our floors like hella good. Can we get some super hot water, And we'd tear up bed sheets and like make like tea bags for the coffee. I mean, it was nice, something to do on the weekends. Like we just chill around and sip some coffee.
People who are watching, like you weren't allowed to smoke cigarettes, you weren't allowed to drink coffee, you weren't allowed to listen to CDs. This was a Mormon thing, like it was a Mormon facility.
Yeah.
Did you know what Mormons were before you went to this place?
I did, but I didn't know like anything about him. Actually, one of my friends was Mormon growing up, and she's my wife now. Like we would, like hang out. Uh, when I was younger, her folks lived on my paper route. Like, he used to deliver newspapers, to her. I guess she's always had a crush on me. I didn't realize it back then, but she would get up, help me roll my papers, do my route with me, whatever. And whenever I'd go do my bad shit, I'd always send her home because I knew she was a good girl, and I just knew she was like always going to church. Like, she was like, during school, she would go to church like an hour before school, every morning. She'd wake up like the crack of the dawn. And I just like thought that was weird, but I had no idea like how those fucking guys were.
Well, like I don't know if you watched the first podcast there, how Brandon said it. It was
Oh
kind of
yeah,
like a piss poor example of what Mormons are or stand for.
100%. Like, now we're married. Like, her mom was like, when she first met me, she was like super judgmental. Covered in tattoos and all that stuff, like, she didn't want nothing to do with me. But now that she knows me, she's like,
Your family.
oh dude, she loves me to death. She's always buying me like wild stuff, yeah. So
So yeah, that's a pretty crazy story about the whole like little hustle you had going on there.
yeah,
I find like that would be make the place a little bit more tolerable, even though it's kind of something what they really would frown upon is kids smoking and whatnot. But
oh yeah, oh
but
yeah,
if we were able to have a cigarette or a cup of coffee or do stuff like that once in a while, like I think it would have made that place a little more tolerable.
yeah. But it definitely tripped me out when I first got there. I was like, what do you mean this is a rehab facility and you can't smoke cigarettes, like, or have coffee? Like, what the hell?
and
Because I've been going to NA meetings, AA meetings, for
and
years prior to that.
and the fact that you were coming off of drugs heavily.
Yeah,
And you said you didn't feel like it was very like rehab like, and
yeah,
especially when they're throwing you off the bed, kicking you in the stomach, they're not
yeah,
giving you any medication, they're not giving you any time to rest or any love or compassion. They're not
yeah,
really like doing anything that a rehab place would do.
yeah.
So why don't you tell us a little bit about what the isolation room is?
So when I was there was no isolation room. Like, they straight put you on a mountain, right? Um, they gave you two tarps, a sleeping bag, and that's what you slept in. And they gave you one match a day to try to light a fire. If you didn't light that fire with that one match, you were fucked,
They would
right?
let you have a match?
Yeah, one match. So like when I was up there, uh, like there was snow on the ground, right? Like, I had to like remove snow, lay one of my tarps down, sleeping bag, another tarp on top of that, try to squeeze some like wood under there to try to get something to dry out. I basically never had a fire up there.
That
Um,
sounds crazy.
yeah, they would bring food. They didn't give you like a day's worth of food because they didn't want you to like hoard it and like try to hike out of there or whatever. Um, they would bring you like some uncooked rice, like a bag of uncooked rice, two bouillon cubes, an onion, and like a piece of fruit. And it was always like an orange or something. And they were just like, me being from California, like, we provide majority of the produce for all the country. So it's really good here. I'm like, what the hell is this? It's like white inside, like,
But I
but
can't believe they gave you uncooked rice. What the heck do they think you're gonna do with that? Light the one
yeah,
match and
well,
find some pot to
yeah,
put it in?
yeah, yeah. And they would give you like a can, like a number, like a restaurant number, 10 size can. And that's what you would do. You would like pour some water in there. Excuse me, put a little bit of water in there, uh, boil your rice, throw those bouillon cubes in there just to get some flavor. And I was
What do
up
you
there
do
like so long. There was a guy
what
who
did you
came.
do with the onion?
So with the onion, what you do is you bury it in the coals and let it sit there for like I don't know, 45 minutes to an hour or so, you know. Of course, even I didn't have a watch or nothing, but like, you know, it's about an hour. And then you pull it out, like you bury it in there with the skin and everything, and it just like kind of cooks in its own juices, you know. It was actually, you know, probably my favorite part of the meal, you know, because it's, you know, you slow cook them and they're like sweet, you know.
It's kind of like when you do like the garlic and it's in the
Yeah,
clove and everything, but it's an onion. I
right.
can see that being good.
Yeah. But, you know, yeah.
That's wild, man.
Yeah.
Under
So,
the mountains, just with an onion and some cubes and a bag of
some
rice,
bacon, bag of
and
rice.
that's for the whole day.
So that you would, I think they would give it, come around like twice, you know,
Okay.
twice a day and give you that. But, you know, I was up there so long, one time, this guy, Mac, he was like a little old dude. I can't imagine he was still alive, like when you were there, but, I think he was like kind of feeling bad for us, but he brought us some like leftover sausages and he gave everybody like, I assume everybody, I know, because I was by myself, but like he gave me like two pieces that were like maybe like that long. He's like, you guys you're getting too skinny. You need some fat, you know.
He felt
And
bad. He's like, I hate the way they're treating you here. Like, he's
yeah,
one of the good guys.
yeah, here's a little nub of a sausage that was left over from dinner last night, you know. And I tell you what, like I really appreciated it, you know.
Yeah, I would take a nub of a sausage
Yeah,
over not
yeah,
having any nubs of sausage.
yeah.
So yeah, that's wild, man. That's how long were you out there at a time?
I think I was out there 3 weeks at that time. Um, yeah, I was in a lot of trouble though, man. Like me and a couple of my buddies escaped, and after like the big whole like ordeal of that, like when they finally like got their hands on us, that's when we went up there. But you know, when we got back, like we ended up having to go to jail for a while. uh you know, I I should probably just like tell you how all that went down. um one of my friends, his brother came to visit him, right? And he seemed like he was like kind of a younger cat, you know. And we were talking to him, and one of my good buddies from Michigan that was there with us, like I guess he used to like, he said he sold drugs. I don't know if he actually did, or if he was just like from a rich family, blah blah blah. I don't know, but he always said he had a ton of money in his bank, right? Well, he convinced this guy, you know, he's like, look, man, I'll pay you like $2,000 if you fucking come back and drive us out of here, right? And it took some convincing, but the dude was like, fuck it, let's do it, you know. And so there was three of us. It was myself, a dude from Alabama, and a guy from Michigan. And it was like after, I think it was after dinner, when he was supposed to come pick us up. There used to be an old half pipe back there, right? It was
Someone told
all,
me from another episode was mentioning that. That's cool.
yeah, yeah. And you know, I
And
grew up,
you guys just smoke behind it, she said.
uh maybe, you know.
I heard
Yeah.
you guys weren't allowed to use it, but it was just there from like the 70s or something. Like,
They actually let us use it. But it was like ratty, you know, getting snowed on, and all the wood was warped and everything. But we did it, you know, like we skated that thing. Um, they ended up telling us, look, if you guys tear this down, we'll build you a new one, right? We're like, fuck yeah, you know. So they basically, you know, we tore it down, you know. We're like, all right, where's our new ramp? They're like, yeah, you're not getting one. We're like, what? You know.
they just
They
didn't
ended
want
up,
anyone getting hurt, so they didn't have to do anything.
they didn't want anybody getting hurt. They don't want to spend the money on the lumber or whatever, you know. They ended up building us like letting us build a quarter pipe, you know, that was in the gym there.
That's
Um,
pretty sweet.
yeah, it was better than nothing. But
That was the best part for me being there was being able to skate and have like
yeah,
the little court or the basketball court to skate in or the gym once in a while. And that was
yeah,
like my escape from being at this
yeah.
place.
Same here. Riding skateboards and like playing hacky sack, dude. It was like, listen to oldies. On the
Yeah, you couldn't
radio.
have CDs, so it was the classic rock station all day.
Yeah, yeah. So, anyways, that road that leads to Hogsback, right? That was behind the cabins there.
I mean, it's hazy.
Did they not make you guys hike up Hogsback?
I literally never got in trouble. Like I said, as soon as I
Shit.
got there, I
Yeah.
went straight to level 5 within maybe like 6 months, and then
Oh wow.
another 6 months of just living off campus, and then I got discharged.
Oh, that's wild. Well, good for you,
Yeah, I
man.
know. I
Yeah.
was I was lucky, man.
Yeah. So, anyways, like our plan was we're gonna just like chill at the half pipe, right? Wait to see this dude's truck, And we were waiting. We're like, fuck, is this guy gonna show up? And sure as shit, man, he like creeped his pickup out of the off the side of the road, and we just fucking broke for it, dude. Fucking took off running because it was kind of a bit of a run from where that half pipe was to get to that back road. And I dropped some of my shit that I was like taking with me, and I remember a set of dominoes. I don't know why I was taking my dominoes, but it just like blew up, And we jump in the back of this dude's truck. We jam up the dirt road, and I look up at the back of the truck. I could just see staff members flying out of the buildings, jamming down the stairs, getting in the vans, right?
Wow.
And dude, next thing you know, like these vans, like we had some distance on them. Now, once you got up to the top of that hill, if you turn left, that takes you to Richfield, right?
Yeah,
You
it's
turn
like
right,
50 miles.
yeah. Well, we ended up going right, and what I found out after the fact is they had a roadblock set up for us, like on the road, because they figured we'd try to go left to
Richfield.
because that's pretty much all anybody knew. Well, we ended up getting lost, which kind of was good for us, because they were fucking waiting for us down there. And yeah, man, we ended up getting out of there. That dude ended up driving us all the way down to Springfield. Does that sound familiar? Springfield. It was like a few miles away from Provo. Dropped us off. We were trying to just like get on hop.
Did this kid pay him or?
Well, what ended up happening? My buddy told me, of course, I don't know like how true it is or not. He said that his folks froze his account. Once staff let them know that we were gone. And
The guy that drove the truck must have been so pissed.
Oh yeah, like so he didn't get paid, and then like he told that's why we originally had to go to jail. Like when we finally got busted, because he said because they were trying to charge him with contributing to the delinquency of a minor or something like that. He's like, no, dude, those dudes stole my truck, and they ended up finding out that we didn't, but it was just kind of his effort,
To get out of jail, yeah.
Get out of his shit.
Oh, that's wild.
Yeah, so he ended up taking us to Springfield, I think the name of the town is. It's right outside of Provo. We're trying to like hitch rides with people, like we were all trying to go back to like our people, on the street.
You guys probably stuck out like sore thumbs though.
Oh yeah, for sure, dude. For sure. So we ended up getting out of we spent too much time in Springfield. Like we need to maybe go to Provo, like bigger city, maybe we have better chance, right? And so we were able to hitch a ride from some random to Provo. They dropped us off there, this big kind of truck stop, and we're just like hitting people up, like, hey man, where you going? Like, can we get a ride? Blah blah blah. And this one couple had walked in, and we hit them up. They came back out. They're like, hey man, do you guys have a place to stay tonight? We're like, nah. They're like, well, we're in there having dinner right now. Let us call our roommate and see if it's okay if you guys crash with us, just for the night or whatever, get you out of here, and then we'll take you, and yeah, sure as shit, they came out. They took us to their place, and it was actually I think it was like housing for the college they were like college kids, you know, super cool, like, you know, like they all smoked weed and everything, you know, so we're like,
You're like, perfect.
yeah. And we ended up staying with them for a while, and few days, actually it might have been almost a week that we were with them.
You
And
probably
then
smoked so much weed you can't remember, you know.
yeah, yeah, we were definitely partying with these guys. And uh the Grateful Dead was on tour, and they were this was before Jerry Garcia died, right? And
That's crazy.
yeah, and they were gonna be playing in Vegas. Well, these guys were like Grateful Dead fans, you know. Like I, you know, grew up listening to punk rock. Well, it wasn't my scene, but I was like, dude, if we can get to Vegas, like these hippies will fucking take us home, you know. Like
This
you
is
know,
the best fucking story I've ever heard.
seriously, they're like, so these guys were like, fuck it, we'll take you, you know, like we'll just hang out in the parking lot, party a little bit, and then, you know, fucking see
And
you
we'll
guys
go
out
hit up
there.
Vegas.
Yeah. So they fucking drove us to Las Vegas, bro. And you know, we didn't go in to see the show or anything, but we were just like hanging out, like just doing drugs with all these dude, like the parking lot was just like packed full of people.
I
I'd
bet it
never
was
seen
just wild.
it was wild, dude. Like people were giving us LSD and like, you know, like all kinds of shit, you
You're
know.
like, we just ran away from like this crazy, like
Yeah,
you
dude.
like Mormon cult, like.
Yeah, people were blown away. Well, I had actually found a ride, but there were some people that were heading back to California. I can't remember what area they were from, but it didn't matter to me, you know.
You're like,
They
let's just
actually,
get it.
yeah, they had a a hotel room and everything. Like I put all my stuff like in there. They're like, yeah, just be here like in the morning or you know later tonight or whatever. And I was like, all right, fuck yeah, dude, this is it, you know. And so I meet back up with my buddies. My one friend from Alabama, he was about to turn 18, and he had contacted his folks. Right, they're like, "Look, dude, we're sick of your shit. Like, you're 18 anyways. Like, we're not like sending anybody after you. Just fucking come home, get your shit out of our house, and go do your thing." Right? He's like, "Fuck it, you know, I'm out. See you, boys." You know. So then it was just me and an old boy from Michigan, and so me and him, like, we're actually out in front of a Stardust hotel before it got knocked down. I don't think it's that original one's there anymore, but we were playing hacky sack with some hippies, you know. And at this point, dude, like the hippies were destroying the town, like you know, like all the like little like. Have you ever been to Las Vegas?
Long time ago, yeah.
Well, there's always like there's always people handing out like flyers for like strip joints,
Oh yeah, I remember that.
all that stuff. Yeah. Well, I mean, those things, they were just like pulling them out of like all the little stands, like that. It was really trash from all these people just like chilling on the grass, getting high, doing all this stuff, you know.
Like, wait a minute, aren't the hippies supposed to be like all about peace and love? And
Not these ones, dude. It was like it was yeah.
they're
It was
like the punk rock hippies.
so we were like chilling. We had been there for a few days at this point, and it was hot, dude. Like 120 degrees, you know. It was like, dude, we were like just roasted. Hadn't been sleeping, you know, from the LSD, you know, just being on the street, whatever. Well, a Metro cop had rolled up on us on his bike. He's like, "You guys got 20 seconds to get on the sidewalk," you know, because we were on the hotel's property. So like, all right, cool. So we go moving onto the sidewalk. Right as soon as he leaves, another one rolls up. "Give me your IDs." We're like, "Oh shit, dude! Like, we don't have IDs, you know."
Yeah.
And you know, at that point, we were just like, "Fuck it," you know. Like we're so tired. Just you know, we gave him our names. We didn't like try to bullshit him or nothing. And he called us in on the radio, and I heard him say on the radio, "Oh, they're wanted by Sorensons Ranch in Koosharem, Utah." We were just like, "Fuck, dude!" Like everybody knew, like you know. And
That's crazy.
I have no idea how it happened. You know, maybe it had something to do with with my buddy from Alabama, like, or I don't know. And anyways, they knew that, like, yeah, they had to take us in. And
That's crazy.
yeah, all I remember is like they set us down, like they didn't put us in any cells or anything. Like they like took us to like a processing area or whatever, and we just like they're like, here, sit down. And as soon as we sat down, like we both just like knocked out, you know. And next thing I know, dude, I'm getting kicked in the foot. You know, there's two big ass staff members. I can't remember who it was who picked us up, you know, now.
But you recognize them from the ranch.
Oh yeah, they were definitely staff members from the ranch.
What was their like? What do you remember them like? Or their impression was when they saw you there? Like
They just said, "Get up, we're going back." I was like, "Fuck," you know. Here we go, you know. So so when we got back, I remember they stripped us down. They put us in jumpsuits, in orange jumpsuits. But I had some LSD on me. Still, I somehow got it. I remember eating it like in the lodge, like in my jumpsuit, you know. And
well, it's so tiny, you probably were able to like hide it easily.
Yeah.
And you're already been through this before. You already knew all the tricks, you know.
Right. I gave some to my partner. We just like split it, ate it. But yeah, and then I don't know how long they had us held up in the lodge. I'm almost assuming it was like just overnight. I could be wrong, you know, like it's been, you know, almost 30 years ago for me. But we weren't there long. They ended up going to jail, okay, in Richfield. We get in there, you know, like there's a couple, they kind of, I don't know if it was like, they just put us like, I don't want to say general population because it was a prison, but it was just like, you know, in with other kids, you know. And
so you weren't with like adults, you were with more kids that were,
it was like a juvenile facility. Yeah, it was like their juvenile, you know, detention center or whatever. We would all be together like during the day, but then like we had our own cells, you know, like.
Would you say that being at the Richfield jail was a step up from being at the Sorensons place?
100%. Let me tell you what. Check this out. So when it was time for us to go back, we were like, dude, we don't want to go back. They're like, why? And we're like, because they're gonna fuck us up. They're like, what? They're like, yeah, we're gonna get our asses beat for this shit. They're gonna put us on the mountain, blah blah blah. Just like gave them the whole rundown of everything that was gonna happen to us. They're like, wait, what? You need to come talk to these people, right? So they move us to the other side of the facility, and they had like social workers coming in talking to us and everything, right? This is when I was like telling you, I was like, I honestly feel like things changed
because of you.
Yeah, it was definitely the beginning of a new Sorensons, because
they'll always find a way to make it horrible anyways.
Yeah, 100%. Like I'm not like taking anything like from, you know, the younger generation that was there, but like
you definitely had impact on a lot of the things that you shed some light on some of the things that maybe were wrong, and they had to be maybe forced into changing things because of it's unethical the way they ran things.
100%, dude. 100%. So we have all these meetings with all these people. They ended up keeping us there for almost like a month, but we weren't on the jail side. Like they moved us to like, I don't know what it was called now, but it was almost like a social services kind of a deal, you know, like we had games to play. Like we weren't like,
it was almost like a place for youth, but it wasn't like, it was for like the good kids, not the bad kids.
Foster kids, you know,
yeah, something like that. Yeah.
Parents were in jail or something, you know, and they didn't have anywhere for them to go, you know.
Yeah, it was like the good part of it, you know.
Yeah, dude, me and my homeboy, we were just like, dude, this is the life, man. Like we just want to finish out our ride here, you know, don't want to go back. Well, wow. It kicked off like a huge investigation on Sorensons Ranch, right?
What do you mean by investigation?
like they wanted to investigate, like, 'cause, did you guys have to set out on the fence at all?
We did, yeah. I remember we'd have to, if you did something wrong, you'd sit on the fence all day in the sun, and they'd
Yeah,
bring you some food.
yeah.
And I
So they
heard
would have you out
before,
there for like weeks, dude. Like long ass time, right?
that's what
Yeah,
one other girl said. She said she was there for like a week at a time, and they used to have these little houses that they put baby cows in or something. Do they have
there were
that?
there were dog houses. They
Yeah,
were
that's what I
igloo.
said. I'm like, it sounds like a doghouse.
Yeah, they were the igloo style dog houses, what they were, and there was a pallet on the inside of them. They were pretty big size, but yeah, they were, you would like lay down on a pallet with like a sleeping bag in there or whatever. Um, but so yeah, we told them about the dog houses, the mountain, the workouts on the weekend.
So it just sounds so fucked up to me that you're sitting on the edge of a fence all fucking day, like chained up like a dog with a little dog house, and like
Yeah,
they're
yeah,
just like treating you like animals. They probably,
animals, 100%. Yeah.
wow.
So we told them about the workouts. Like the workouts were fucking brutal, dude. Like they would smoke our asses to where like you're throwing up, but you're like you can't stop. Like you have to do your
Because if you
push-ups.
stop, you're gonna get restrained and your arms broken.
Yeah. What they used to do to us, they would strip you down to your boxers, right? And they would make you lay with like your chin on the concrete, and you had to be like spread eagle, right? And so your arms are out to your sides, your legs are spread, and your chin's on the thing. And like while you're getting smoked, you're like, fuck it, dude, I'm gonna refuse. I'm gonna refuse, thinking like I can just chill and be fine. No, dude, I did it one time and never again. I just fucking sucked it up, man. They beat your ass. They did break one of my buddy's arms because like he could, your arms get tired from just being not moving. Your chin starts hurting, all this stuff. And my buddy, he like pulled his arm in. They said, "Fuck, straighten your arm out, straighten your arm out." He's like, "No, fuck you." And they're like, "All right, let's do this." And they just fucking piled on him. He just kicked his ass up and down the gym. Blood out. There was blood all over the walls, dude. From this guy, and they snapped his arm in the elbow, which wasn't the only time we've seen that. Watched my other buddy get his arm broke for throwing snowballs.
Wow.
He was on the fence. There was snow out there. They're having like a snowball fight, trying to make the best of it, and they come flying out of the lodge like that's not happening. Well,
Was there
anyways,
like blood in the snow and everything?
yes, yeah.
That's a scene right there, man.
I'm sure there's still blood stains on that gym wall from back when I was there. So then, yeah, and then like after, so I told them about the workouts, and then they used to hike us up the mountain, like 10-mile hike up Hogsback, right? And they would fucking jam by with their four-wheelers, spray mud on us and shit. We were carrying the big like gallon-sized water jugs and stuff. And it was fucking hard, dude. Like I've been in the army, and like I remember when I got to call my mom the first time, like in basic training, she was like, "How was it?" I'm like, "Dude, it's fucking fun." She's like, "What are you talking about?"
You're like, I was meant for this shit.
like shooting guns and all this stuff, like she's like, "What about like, the push-ups and sit-ups and stuff?" I'm like, "I've been doing that shit. But
You're like, you have
yeah,
no idea what I went through at Sorensons Ranch.
dude, yeah, that's a yeah, you try telling them, but they don't want to listen, I guess. I think the staff members, they tell these parents, look, they're gonna tell you all this horrible stuff that we're doing to them and this and that. Just don't listen to them. They're gonna tell you anything they can to get you out of here because they want to be back home, getting high with their friends, doing this and that, whatever.
Well, how are they so good at manipulating our parents? Like, what the hell? How do they get so good at that?
I don't know, dude.
And that brings me to the question of, do you remember your first phone call?
I don't. I know like somebody was there, like watching
Monitoring
me.
it.
Yeah, saying listening to everything. I honestly don't remember how that conversation went though. I
Yeah,
don't
it was a
remember.
long time ago. But I
Yeah,
do think that that was a very, like, for me, that was a very pivotal point because I was there working 2 weeks on the farm, learning about how fucked up this place is. And
yeah,
then finally I earned my first phone call and I'm being kind of manipulated into saying you can't say anything or you're going to go in isolation or in level one. So
yeah,
literally all you can do is pretty much like cry because you just want to scream out and it's hard because you're finally you're hearing your mother's voice from Montreal and I'm in Utah and it was like
yeah,
it was heavy and like you can't say anything and I just remember that being like so traumatizing, you know?
yeah, yeah, yeah. Fucking wild, dude. So yeah, like they were sending social workers. They went on the weekend. They actually caught him. The staff members caught him, and since they were trying to get these workouts on video, and they got caught trying to film through the fucking window, right? Well, since Sorensons is privately owned, they got trespassed. Okay, I don't know how, but they got trespassed and they weren't allowed on the property anymore. They weren't, giving up any information, obviously, or anything. So they said since they went around, since they didn't let them, they said that you can always come, but you have to let us know before you come, right? Well, they weren't going to let them come on a Saturday when they're, doing their thing to us, in that gym. So they snuck on there, I guess, and they caught him. And what ended up happening was they're like, look, social services is that you can't be involved anymore, but the local sheriff is gonna take over the investigation. Well, the local sheriff at the time was a fucking Sorensen. He was related to them somehow. You know how they're all like related in some way or another.
They all are.
They are.
They're
And
all running a business, which is the ranch, and our lives are in the middle of it.
yeah,
Getting a new investment would be getting a new student in there because they
right.
know that's going to be $4,000 a month. And
Yeah,
this whole rehab facility is funding this whole town. The reason why people have food on their plates that live in this town is because of us being there and our parents being bamboozled into being sent there. It's a cult. It's a fucked up cult, man.
it is. You know what tripped me out, man? Like yeah, I've been in that Sorenson's group for a few years, and every once in a while I get a notification somebody like posted in it, whatever, blah blah blah, and it's like whenever it happens, like go down like a wormhole. I'm just like looking at all this stuff, and then I start googling the place and this and that, and dude, I found a job like listing, right, uh, for a staff member, dude. It paid like $13 an hour. I'm like, you guys are fucking doing all this shit to us for uh, uh, $13 an hour? Are you fucking kidding me? Like, it just blew my mind,
Well, I
Like,
always thought, I don't know if it's true, but I always knew that it was minimum wage and it didn't take much qualification to have a job there. You just had
yeah,
to be willing to be able to do the job the way they want you to and be willing to live either in one of the surrounding towns or in that town. And
yeah,
not many people would be willing to do that, you know?
yeah, yeah. I sure as fuck wouldn't, man. There's like, yeah,
I mean, there was one or two staff members, or there's one staff member I could think of who I became really close with, and he was only 23, I believe, at the time. And he was
yeah,
just trying to do his job, but he definitely had a heart in him, you know, like he would sometimes like do what he needed to do, but when it came to people that like me that he trusted, I would be able to like get away with certain things, but nothing serious, just being myself more like and not have to be putting on a
right,
mask 24/7, you know, like
yeah,
this
yeah, yeah,
guy, he was into like metal music and
uh,
punk music and all kinds of stuff that we related to. So like when it was just us and no one other staff around and like we would get along and it was like he was like the one savior out of all the people, you know.
yeah,
And I'm sure like it wasn't they didn't pay him very much either to be there, you know, but everybody needs to work, you know.
yeah. We uh we hustled a couple of them, man. We found out uh one of the younger guys that had started working there. He was like a cowboy dude, and there was like a group of cowboy like students there. They wore the fucking boots and all that stuff, you know. And like I went up, these dudes lived like in a penthouse, and I was up there one day, and I saw on the toilet that there was fucking something in there. I'm like, what the fuck is that? I went to like take a leak, you know. I'm like, what is that? And I didn't know, and so I got one of my homeboys. I'm like, yo, what is this? I'm like, and he's like, dude, that's fucking Copenhagen, right? So we confronted those cowboys. We're like, yo, where'd you get this Copenhagen from, you know? And they didn't want to fucking give it up at first, but you know, we kind of made them, you know. And so then we went they told us that that staff member fucking, you know, gave it to him. We're like, look, you're gonna start bringing shit in for us now,
or we're gonna fucking get you fired.
Yeah, yeah. And it panned out for a little while, but I don't know. He ended up not working there for too long. You know, I wouldn't be able to tell you his name. He's like a young, skinny dude, and yeah, I think he was only there for like maybe 4 or 5 months. You know, so but we used the fuck out of him while he was there.
Yeah, I can imagine they had a lot of turnarounds there. Every now and then, someone coming in and not sticking around, and
yeah.
Not an easy place for an outsider to be if you're not related and you're not like from that area. You know, it's got to be pretty traumatizing. You know, even to work there and to see the crap that goes on there.
Yeah.
So what were we talking about? You're finishing the story about so yeah, the investigators came.
So yeah, the investigators came in, and then, you know, like I don't know what happened with that, but I think like there was so much pressure on them. They just kind of like really started backing off, you know, because these people were like wanting reports and this and that, and they were wanting to come on and inspect the place and like talk to people, and you know.
Well, then you said it got taken over by the sheriff who was a Sorenson.
Yeah.
What happened with that?
Nothing. That was the end of it. Once he got involved, that was it. But like I
things
said,
still started to become more lenient.
Yeah.
They kind of felt like, okay, maybe we should calm down for a bit.
We need to tone it down a little bit. And it did. And I tell you what, it was like once I had to go through like all that shit, you know, dealing with, you know, escaping and all that stuff, they you know, they kind of fucking left me alone, you know, left a lot of the other kids alone too.
And then you worked your way up the system, and you kind of just were able to happily kind of, or have a little better of a time, and it went a little easier for you.
Yeah, I ended up moving off campus. You know, I was living in that house. That same one that the first guy you had on, I was talking about with what was that teacher's name?
Martin.
Martin. Yeah.
You had Martin back then?
Yeah, he was there back then. And
was he just as weird as fucking crazy?
Dude, the way that guy was explaining it was to a T, man. Like,
I know Brandon's way too nice, but like, man, yeah. Martin, he's a character.
Yeah, he told me like, I don't wear deodorant, I don't use Q-tips in my ears. Your body has all these natural oils and it just takes care of itself. I'm like, dude, you're fucking wild. So
he was a different kind of level of a human being.
Yeah. But
so you're living off campus, and things are going okay.
I had a girlfriend.
You had a girlfriend at the Sorensons' place?
At Sorensons, yeah. And she ended up moving off campus. I would sneak her in my room at that house and everything.
No way.
Oh yeah. So
that sounds pretty cool, man. I don't think we were able to get away with stuff like that when we were there.
Yeah.
We were very closely watched, because even if you're in the off-campus house, either Martin was there or your neighbor or someone near is around.
Yeah.
Or there's some other kids in the house too, and you wouldn't be able to get away with anything.
Well, dude, you know, I was lucky. Like all my homeboys, like I had like kind of like a, you know, solid crew there, you know, and most of them ended up coming in, and Martin slept upstairs, like I was down in the basement, and sometimes I would like trade rooms with like my buddy, be like, hey dude, my girl's coming over, let me use your room tonight, for a little bit. And so we would just like switch around like that.
Wow,
And yeah,
that's
yeah,
crazy.
yeah. She lived with a family. It was just like a single family. There wasn't a bunch of girls there. She was the only one at that house. It was kind
And
of a
she
big.
was able to just kind of close her door and pretend she's sleeping and sneak off.
She would sneak out the window. I
Put
snuck
on
over
a
to her place once, dude, and I was like hella sick. Like I had like the flu or something, man. So I was like coughing like crazy, dude. I'm like, I need to get the fuck out of here.
yeah, they're like, fuck is wrong with this girl? She keeps like coughing like a dude.
like a dude, yeah. Yeah.
Wow,
But
man, those are some wild stories. I
yeah.
had maybe one story when I was living off campus. We were me and my buddy were sharing the room up one of the rooms upstairs, and we were walking home from the ranch after school or something, after dinner or whatnot. And here comes this guy driving in a car. He's like, "Oh, you guys know where Bill lives? Like Farmer Bill? I don't know if you remember
Yeah.
Farmer Bill."
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
So we're like, "Oh yeah, he lives around maybe this house over there or something." And then he's like, he looks over, he's like, "Open your bags." And we're like, we're like,
What the
"Open
fuck?
our bag?" Oh, I'm like, "Okay, sure." Open my bag, puts in a full bottle of Jägermeister in my bag,
No
and
way.
and then and then I'm like so stoked. And then me and my buddy, there was a radio that was going around campus that had a CD player on it, and it got passed along because no one knew that it looked like it had a CD player. So it was like
Yeah.
it was our secret, everybody that kind of shared it. Someone got discharged, got passed to someone else.
Yeah, yeah.
So I had it, and I told the dude, I'm like, "What CDs do you got?" He opens up his CD case from his car, and he's like, "Do you like this? Do you like this?" Gave me every fucking CD, because he probably went there and he was like,
Yeah.
he
I
knew.
was just gonna say that, man. I bet $100 it was somebody that was there.
Probably one of your friends at the time,
Yeah,
man.
maybe.
And like he seemed like just so like he needed this to heal a little bit. Like he needed to go there and kind of like see this place because it was haunting him for years, And
Yeah.
I'll never forget that. Me and him went back to the room, and we didn't tell a soul. We didn't tell anybody, because you can't let anybody know. Like you said, they'll snitch on you for a candy bar.
100%. Yeah.
So we made this rule where anytime we would even talk about the time we drank it,
Yeah.
we didn't say anything about it. We would say, "Remember Kid Rock? We had ba with a ba with a bang, diddy diddy." So that was how we would say it. We'd be like, "Oh, remember that time when we ba with a bang, diddy diddy." And it never ever got fucking heard. No one ever heard this story because we were so good at hiding it, and we were so
Yeah.
conditioned and whatnot. But yeah, that's my one story that was cool living off campus.
Yeah, them kids would be talking, like that crew that I was telling you that, I was a part of. Dude, we're pretty mean, like if, we were suppliers, like we had all the cigarettes, all this stuff, and like did they have belt loopers, like bring the new people around and show everybody the cabins and stuff, like when a new student would come in?
I don't remember. No, I don't know
Yeah.
if we did, or if I don't know if I just don't remember.
When I was there, like if a new student had got there, right, a lot of times like these kids, if they got anything in, they would be like, hey dude, like I got an ounce of weed on me, whatever, blah blah blah. Well, the belt loopers would come take us and be like, all right, bring them by our cabin like at 2 o'clock or whatever, right? And so we have what was called like a 50% rule. Like if you had anything, you gave us 50% of it, and you could keep 50% of it. If you didn't, we would just fucking beat your ass and take all of it, right? And then you get nothing, So these bell loopers would bring these guys in, and we'd be like, hey dude, like we heard you fucking snuck some weed in, right? And they'd be like, yeah. And be like, oh dude, let me check it out, man. It's been so long since I've smelled some bud, blah blah blah, whatever, And they'd be like, oh yeah, here, check it out, fucking, give it to my homeboy, give it to, and then somebody would roll it up, be like, all right, thanks, dude, put it in their pocket. They'd be like, wait, what? We're like, yeah, thanks, dude. Nice meeting you, man. And like kick him out of the cabin. But
Yeah, well, those are. It was tough being there. I mean, like you have to be tough to survive there, man. Like
yeah,
even dealing with the staff and the system and every crazy element about it, you still have to deal with the other students, and it was
100%.
tough, man. There was a lot of violence and there was a lot of sexual kind of things going on. There was a lot of
Yeah,
fucked up things that we suppress or that's there in general.
yeah. I got my ass beat when I first got there. I talked shit about some dude, like like being a skater. This guy, like, he was from Utah. I think he was there for like steroids or something like that. I think I heard. Big old boy. I was like, I think when they weighed me in, I was 120 pounds.
Damn.
Because I was so sucked up from the dope. When I left, I was 180. So I gained 60 pounds when I was there, and I talked shit about this dude. I'm like, oh, that guy's a fucking poser, dude. He's from Utah, man. That fool can't skate, Like, this is before there was any skateboards there. We had the old ramp. It was from the old guys, but we ended up getting him later on. But like, that dude's from fucking Utah. He don't know shit, And somebody had told him, and next thing I know, like one morning, I'm getting up, like getting dressed, and this fool comes in. He's like, hey, I heard you're talking shit. Like, I didn't know what he was talking about, right? I was like, what?
Yeah.
He's like, I heard you're talking shit. I was like, oh yeah, And he's like, I'm gonna fucking beat your ass. I'm like, oh, you're serious, huh? I'm like, fuck it, let's go, And that dude just fucking pummeled me. He like beat me into a bunk, right? He had his one fist in my throat. I couldn't breathe, and he was just like blasting my face, right? But I did what I could, I didn't back down, just, uh, the dude was like twice my size, maybe even 3 times. He was a big old fucking kid. And uh, anyway, so that happened, of course I didn't rat or nothing. I just cleaned myself up, blah, blah, blah. And there was a lot of dudes like gangster dudes from down in Los Angeles, that were there at the time, and they heard like what happened, and the fact that I didn't back down, that I fought, I didn't rat this guy out. They approached me. They're like, hey, dude, like, you got heart, blah blah blah. They said, don't worry about that guy. Just fucking kick it with us, and if he gives you any problems, just let us know what to fucking handle it, right? So those are the guys who kind of like showed me the way how to do things, and so like, yeah, I ran, like we just like kind of ran together, for that, I don't know.
I kind of had a similar situation there too. Maybe not as hardcore as yours, but I remember I was a little punk too. Like I showed up there with like a mohawk and like, are you still there? Oh, all right. We're back after a little bit of technical difficulties. So I was just about to tell Adam about how my first introduction was a little bit similar. How I first got there, didn't know anybody, and it was kind of funny because I was a punk rocker and there's a few other punk rockers there, but
Yeah.
they kind of didn't accept me at first. They were kind of like, who the fuck is this guy? And they kind of teased me, picked on me a little bit. And then it wasn't until like I kind of proved myself to them that they're kind of like, okay, he's cool. We're gonna like
Legit.
let him hang,
Yeah.
So yeah, kind of similar how you went in there, and then like the kids saw that you were down, that you weren't some rat or you weren't some pussy kid. You were kind of you're a trustable guy, and you're tough, and you're able to hang out. The guys saw that in you, kind of
Yeah.
how these guys saw that with me after I proved myself. Not as same situation, but similar situation.
Yeah. Like after, I don't know, maybe like I was only there maybe like a couple months, I want to say. Have you heard like there was a dude there. He had ratted somebody out, and the guys that I told you kind of like picked me up, after that incident I had with that one dude. They're like, we need to get this fool, he's a fucking snitch. And I'm like, fuck, let's do it, And so we ended up doing like a soap party on him, like, but with padlocks, it wasn't soap. There was like padlocks and socks, and fucked this guy up pretty good. And I was like, fuck, I wasn't like into that shit, but I was like, fuck, this is the way I gotta be, this is the way I gotta be.
It was a tough place. I remember a lot of kids, they would talk about something called like a blanket party.
That's what, yeah.
You throw a blanket over the guy's head, and then everyone's hitting him, punching him, and he can't rap because he doesn't know who it was.
Right. That's exactly what it was. I mean, we had like plunger sticks, screwed the sticks off the plungers. We were cracking with that. I feel bad for the guy now, later in life. I'm a grown man, but it's just like,
that's just what went on there. There's no sense in feeling bad about what you did when you were there, because you were put into a place that, first of all, that should never existed in the first place.
Yeah. Like, like we all had like weapons, I don't know if I kind of seen like on the page that that some of the younger guys saying, oh, I heard they used to have shop and stuff like that. Like, was that there when? Did you guys have wood and metal shop? And
we had metal shop, we had wood shop,
when you were there?
and we had leather shop. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah. We were like straight making weapons, like wooden like shanks and stuff. And when I told you we were selling cigarettes and stuff, we had that racket going. That's where we kept all our shit together. Well, they fucking raided us. They found our spot. And I've heard like years later that they had all of those weapons that we used to make, and they would show them to like the new guys coming in, like, look, these are the fucking dudes you're dealing with. So, you need to fucking tell us everything, you want us to be on your side. If you go with them, then that's it, like you're kind of getting thrown to the wolves, but yeah, it was the 2-story. We kind of held up in that 2-story cabin, the older one, not the newer one that was like facing like that road. It was the older 2-story cabin. There was like the bed that like came out, and it was just like basically like a big wooden box and a mattress sitting on top. We had pried that plywood up that was on top of that box, and that's where we kept all our shit. That was one of our main like stash spot. But we also hid stuff like on the penthouse in the newer 2-story, like outside the window up in the eave. Like we had fucking hollowed that area out. We'd stash stuff up there. But yeah, it was wild, dude. Like,
I'll tell you something, a little sneak peek from one of the other episodes that you're going to watch eventually here. One of the past students that was there for like 4 years, said that they were tearing down and redoing one of the cabins or some of the cabins there while she was there, and they found Playboys, drugs, paraphernalia of drugs, all kind of stuff that you would imagine would be there. But like, I just found it amazing that was in the walls. Like, imagine being there and being like, just tearing a wall down and be like, oh yeah, look, we got our little stash here now.
Oh, fucking score, dude.
I couldn't imagine, like, the whole time we're sitting there being like, oh, I just wish we can have some weed, or I wish we could have some drugs. It was sitting next to us the whole time right in the wall. Yeah.
Oh, that's crazy.
That is pretty crazy. So what is your opinion on the people who run this place, the Sorensons, the people that own this place? What were they like to you, and what do you feel about them?
So these people that run this place, they know everything that goes on there, like, and for them to allow it, like they're just as guilty, even though I never seen like, like any of the Sorensons, like there was like, what was his name? Jay, that was like Burnell's son. Like I never seen like those guys like beat anybody up. It was always the staff members, but like those fools knew what was going on, like,
Yeah, but
and they allowed it.
it's not like the leader of like Scientology, like when you see him beating people up or something, it's like
Right, right.
the leader he has to keep his hands clean and look good, and he
Yeah,
doesn't have time to get blood on his hands.
yeah. I know for a
So
fact, uh, one of the Sorensons was sleeping with my homeboy. It was a female. She worked there. Um, that's I know that
well,
like on the first one that you put out, there was like some questions about like sexual abuse and stuff like that. And I don't want to say it was like necessarily abuse because my homeboy was all about it, but
but at the same
you
time, that's with a minor, and that's considered rape.
100%. Like she was definitely an adult. She was a young adult, but like I wonder what like his parents would fucking or what they
So
think about
who
it.
do you
Like
remember who one of these owners were, their name or?
I don't want to say my homeboy's name because I don't want to put his name out there, but
Yeah,
it
you don't have
was
to blast
CC.
him.
Her, yeah,
CC. Was it a Sorensen, like CC
CC. Yeah,
Sorensen?
she, she was yeah. She lived in the big house at Burnell's, and like he would like roll up there, and she would come down to her cabin and all that stuff. So
Wow.
like I know 100%. And then there was
It's a
like
fact. It's not a
it's
story.
the
What you're
fact.
trying to say,
It's
yeah.
not a story. I was there for it. Like
And that's like,
I know.
and that's just one story, and that's just
Yeah.
one fact. Could you imagine all the shit they sweep under the rug? I don't
Oh
think these
yeah, dude.
people deserve to be making this much money. Like, I really do believe they all should be put in jail, for real.
I do. I think that there should be like a class action lawsuit. Something. They need to feel the fucking pain, dude.
Talk
Like
Talking about
like
lawsuits, what do you think about Sorenson's Ranch suing anybody and taking things down like off the internet? They sued MySpace back in 2007.
did they really?
They sued them because some people that went there started a MySpace group and they called it Survivors, Survivors of Sorenson's Ranch, with an understatement of how fucking shitty this place is to some people. It gives
Yeah.
people trauma for their life. But the fact that they just went out and flatly sued MySpace and they took the lawsuit away once MySpace agreed to shut down their MySpace account. If they
Yeah.
go for that lanes, they're hiding shit. And they're
They
they're
are.
not
I don't,
they're not they're not a good business.
you got something to hide. Like if you have nothing to hide,
Let
like
these survivors speak their story, their truth.
yeah,
And
yeah,
anybody out here who's listening to us or me or this podcast, I'm gonna get sued. They're gonna do this to me, and I don't give a shit. It's worth it to have these stories out there, and for me to heal a little bit of the bullshit they put me through.
yeah. My
Straight
one
up.
homeboy in particular that I was talking about that was with that chick. Like we were talking about it. I was him, myself, and then another guy who I don't want to mention his name. And the other guy, he was just like, "Yeah, dude." Like I hit him up. I'm like, "Yo, man, like me and homeboy were thinking about like doing something." And he was like, "Yeah, just fucking let me know what like who I need to talk to." So like he was about it, but just kind of this is a couple years ago, and it just kind of fizzled off.
Well, it's not easy. It's even to do this podcast. I was sitting on maybe a few episodes before, or no, I just put one out yesterday, and that was the first episode, the one that I put out yesterday, the Brandon Katie one for everyone who's watching.
Yeah,
And it took me a while to really be like, oh, okay, I'll put it out. I kept putting it off, And I have probably about maybe almost 10 more episodes right now on the belt and we're gonna get one every single week. So
yeah. I was even hesitant to do this. I wanted to see it. Like I saw you made that post, and I was like, dude, I got some stories for this guy, but I don't know, like if I want to do it or not. And then, but once I saw how you laid it out for that first guy, I was like, all right, man, like, let's do this, you know?
Fair enough. And I kind of wanted also to ask you what you were hesitant about in the first place, because I just find it interesting. Not that it matters, you know?
Yeah, I just, you know, like, we don't know each other. Like, you know, like, I didn't know, you know, I didn't know anything about you. Like, I was definitely interested in what you were doing, you know? I'm
Yeah,
like, this
because
could
we
be,
chatted, we had a chat,
yeah,
and
like,
yeah.
this could be good. Or, you know, like, there's a lot of fucking weird people that went to Sorensons, you know? And I didn't know if, like, you were going to be one of them, you
Well,
know?
I really
But,
appreciate you
like,
doing
after
this.
talking to you, like, yeah, yeah, for sure, man.
Yeah, I really appreciate it, and I really do
I
feel
could
like
go on and on, to be honest with you.
if we like I just texted you earlier, if we were there together, we would have been friends. And I feel like
100%.
I'm glad. And another point is I'm really glad to be able to do this because it's healing, and I get to make new friends out of it. I mean, even though if you live
Yeah,
in the States and it's hard to hang out or whatnot, one day it's gonna happen because I already feel a connection with
yeah,
you than I do with
yeah,
most people, you know?
yeah, yeah. Dude, I travel a lot, man. Like, I'm a fisherman. That's one good thing I got out of Sorenson's, man. Like, I started fishing there, and that's like my life now. Like, you know, I travel for tournaments and
Well,
uh,
why don't
you
we
know,
take this a
do all
little
that shit.
positive route for a second and share with me three, and that could be one of them, your positive experience that you got out of this place.
Three positives, definitely number one, the fishing aspect. You know, like you know, like my folks, like my family, you know, didn't do that. Uh, I know you guys talked a little bit about Lake Powell. Like, once I got up on those higher levels, you know, like I love doing that. They actually had bought like a little Zodiac boat. You know what that is? Like a little inflatable, like you'll see like search and rescue using like an inflatable boat with a motor. They're like, look, dude, you guys can take this out. You can go fish, but if you come back and your breath smells like gas, like, you're fucking done. You know, because like there's a lot of gas huffing and doing all that shit, you
Oh
know,
yeah.
even in the leather shop, you know, like, guys are huffing glue. I got busted doing that, you know, a couple times. But yeah, so, you know, we would catch like stripers and catfish and stuff like that, and learn how to tie knots, and, you know, just some basic stuff, you know. I'm like another level from that. But that's the other thing, dude. I got my diploma, you know. I know you guys kind of touched on it on the last episode. There you you never stop going to class, right? And if you don't pass the class, like, you keep fucking taking it until you
You
pass.
pass,
And
yeah.
like, when I was there, yeah, it was like, what was it, like a B? You had to have B or better. Like, I don't know what that is, like a 3.5 or whatever grade average. So you know, like that, the time that I was there, like, once I, you know, start fucking programming like on their end, you know, like, I was like, okay, you know, like, I'm gonna do this. I had my chick with me, like, you know, she's smart. She would help me, you know, like, we're like, fuck it, let's do this. Like, let's just fucking stop fucking around doing all this shit. You know, we would study together in a lodge or whatever. She helped me a lot on that. And so I got my diploma. Um, you know, I'm still friends, you know, with a few of these guys, you know, that you know, kind of I ran with there, you know. There's some solid ass dudes, you know. Lot of us went into the military and did that thing, you know. After the fact, one of them ended up being a Marine. I went into the Army. My other buddy, he was in the Navy. He was just like, that dude's like a machine, man. Like, even when we were in there, he was always like hitting the weights, dude. He got fucking hella ripped, you know. And, I guess like when he joined the Navy, like, he just, you know, just super successful with that. My other buddy, he joined the Marines. He ended up getting out, going back in, ended up joining the Army. So he did kind of a couple different things. I don't know, dude. Like, I don't know. I guess just like fishing it and my diploma, dude. That's really the
Yeah.
only like positive things that like I got from that place.
What
My
do
friends.
you what do you think was probably like the worst, top three worst experiences while you were there?
Man, just like the abuse, like I mean, like back in my day, like when I was there, like that's when kids were like sagging their pants and stuff like that, like if they saw like your boxers, like dude, you'd have to go get uh the baling twine. Remember that orange fucking twine? Did you guys ever haul hay
On the
around
hay,
there?
yeah.
Yeah. So they'd go get a fucking string and they'd string you up. It had a name for it. I can't remember what it was, but dude, they would jack your fucking pants up like to your chest, like painful. And they would tie you up with this fucking baling twine, right?
Tie
And
you up.
they would fucking tie you up, dude, for like a week. You'd have to walk around with your shit up here, your pants up your asshole. If you didn't shave, right, they would fucking jump on you. They all had those like Leathermans with pliers on their belts, these cowboys, and they'd fucking rip your hair out of your face, with their fucking pliers.
Are you
uh
joking?
no, dude. No,
Wow.
like,
No, I
yeah,
believe it, but I'm like, I'm shocked at the same
yeah,
time, but I believe
oh
it and I
yeah,
know it's true, but it's just, it's insane. Like,
yeah.
people don't
I
understand how crazy this place is.
I can't tell you how many times I got fucking backhanded or just smacked across the face because my hair wasn't combed. Like they ended up like you weren't allowed to like have a shaved head when you were there, right? And I've been shaving my head, for a long time up until that point. I got cowlicks, whatever, on my head, and so like I would go like to eat, couldn't fucking eat. They ended up letting me shave my head, but um, like if your hair was messed up, boo, like big ass redneck dudes, just fucking cracking you across the face because, you didn't shave that morning or, your fucking hair was messed up or, shit
Wow.
like that.
Yeah, that's pretty brutal.
Yeah. Big dudes now, like,
I couldn't
yeah.
imagine have to be so cruel like that and then I have to live and go to sleep every night and like
Yeah.
how are these people able to just be so
Fucking
cruel?
sleep at night. How can you fucking sleep at night now,
Yeah. Well, hopefully
Have
this
you-
podcast will shed a little bit of light and at least help you heal a little bit by just getting it out there and you know.
Let me tell you something, man. Uh, for like the first 2 years I got out of that place, dude, like when I slept, I have violent ass dreams,
I
right?
still have dreams that I'm going back there.
Yeah, like I wasn't necessarily like at the place, but like just like the violence was like running through my brain. Like my girlfriend that I told you about, she ended up I got out first. She ended up having to stay a little bit longer till she finished her shit. But then once she moved out, once she got out, she moved in with me in Alabama. We lived together, and I woke up one morning. I was laying on the floor, and I'm like, dude, why am I on the floor? She was like, dude, you were fucking choking me in your sleep. Like I was fucking strangling her in the street in her sleep. And
Holy.
yeah, she like had a fucking, kick me off of her, and I wasn't like that before I went into this place. You know what I mean?
No,
Like,
no.
like fighting for my life or running from the cops and all this stuff. Like, dude, there's just like fucking nightmares, dude. you know? Uh, yeah.
So it's fair to say that this place didn't help you whatsoever at all.
I mean, I can't necessarily say that, because like if I didn't go to some kind of a facility, like, I don't think that was the right facility for me to go to. I need
You
to
should
go
have
to
been
like
you should have been at a proper rehab, or
at a
at least
proper rehab.
yeah.
100%. Like I needed some kind of treatment, but that wasn't the treatment that I needed. I just needed enough time to get the fucking drugs out of my system and for my brain to fucking kind of like, heal from that, but that's the only credit I can give that place,
Is
it
that
wasn't them that did it. It was just the time away from the drugs that did it, like
so
fuck
like
that
it?
place.
So like I always say is like yeah, there's no kind of regrets and yeah, like you probably need to be somewhere, but that doesn't take away from the fact that this place is a fucking hellhole.
No, 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 no. Yeah, they didn't do it for me. Just the time away from dope did it for me,
You could have done
and
that
no,
anywhere. You could have done that anywhere. You could
anyway,
have had the amount it costs to be there for a month. You could have paid to be in a really nice rehab facility for
like
6 months.
hospital like setting,
And
that's if any parents like are like stumble across like one of these videos like and that are thinking about sending their kids to a place like this, don't do it. If they're on drugs, they need to be like in a hospital or in like a some other kind of inpatient treatment, not a fucking reform school. See, I don't know if it was like when you were there, but when I was there, like there was kids there that a lot of them like the state would send there, these kids didn't have family, but they were always in trouble and shit like that, and so they were like wards of the state. A lot of them there was a lot of Denver kids there for some reason, like the Denver, Colorado, like sent a shit ton of their kids there, and they're all fucked up, not, some of them were my friends, but like they come from fucked up situations. I don't say that they were fucked up. Some of them were, but
so it was like the government was paying them for them to be there, kind of
yeah,
thing.
yeah, it was the state that was, I don't know if they, you know, I don't know the financial end of it, but they definitely were, had something worked out with them. So, like you got, kids in there that have fucking drug problems, right? And then you got like dudes that are like, fucking stealing cars and, whatever else. Like, we all do our dirt, but it's just like more criminal activity. It's not the place you want to send your kid that has a drug problem.
Would you ever consider sending your kids to this place?
No, never in a million years. I'm actually, I have a stepdaughter. She's 21. She's about to turn 22 here in a couple of months, and she just kind of, she went off to college. We got her through college, but like while she was there, she was going to San Francisco. She, started like trying shit out, started fucking doing shit, And I told her, look, man, like, you're going to college, like if you party and stuff like that, you're gonna do it. Like, just stick with the natural stuff, don't be doing no fucking man-made drugs, like they're fucking bad for you. Trust me, I know, and so she just got out of she unfortunately didn't listen, but she just got out of a treatment program herself. She just came home yesterday, but she was in a 60-day program, down in LA, and but it was a nice setting, like she was in a nice house. She had a good sponsor, like that actually fucking cared about her, and like showed her how to like work the steps and this and that, and she's definitely a changed person, but she didn't have to get her fucking teeth kicked in to get better.
Yeah,
You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, and I feel like this place is meant for people to get off drugs. They're trained in that. Whereas Sorenson's was like we said earlier, is kind of like this weird like horror story setting cult place that shouldn't
bunch of fucking
exist.
Mormon hillbillies, dude, that don't know fucking fuck about the streets and city life, none of that shit. You know what I mean?
I can't believe that they would tie you up and tie your pants up to your chest. Like I
Dude,
remember
yeah.
a lot of kids walking around with those strings as belts, but just as belts because they didn't have a belt and they needed to wear a belt as part of the uniform.
Yeah, no, they would hike them up as far as they go and even past as far as they could go. And they would tie them over our shoulders, so you couldn't go anywhere. If you
And that
cut it,
stuff's like that stuff cuts you. That stuff like
yeah, yeah,
digs
yeah,
deep. Like
yeah. And if you took it off or if they, whatever, if you cut it off, they would fucking kick your ass and fucking
so
string
you'd
you
be
up again. Like,
so you'd be sitting there in class with your fucking pants up your to your
yeah,
thing with
yeah,
twine all over you
yeah.
and
It's not
looking
only
like a
painful,
fucking idiot.
it's not only painful, that's what I was gonna say. It's fucking humiliating. It's degrading. You know what I mean?
Oh, for sure.
Like
It, that's traumatizing too. I mean, how
it
how
is.
long has it been? Over 30 years, you said?
Yeah.
Do you still
I,
feel like obviously like you're a strong person, you're a smart person, but do you not feel maybe there's still a little bit of trauma you're trying to heal from this place?
I'm a little fucked up, dude.
Like you're not like I think what makes sense too is when people can really recognize like yeah, like maybe I am at a good point in my life, but I still feel like this place still kind of did a number on me and it'll take some time, you know?
so it's been 30 years, whatever. Maybe it's a little less than 30 years, but uh like I said, whenever I get like these like random notifications that somebody posted in one of these groups, like I fucking I it just, dude, it consumes me, man. Like my heart starts beating fast, like it makes me feel some kind of way,
And it's not like you get those feelings when you have a reminder of being in that jail for a month.
no,
You don't
no,
get you don't get feeling a little like
no, dude,
trauma
no,
from that. It's
yeah,
just Sorenson's Ranch.
yeah. Yeah, I've been to jail after, I almost went to prison, I was looking at 5 to 16 years, shortly after that. That did fucking scare me, but like while I was in jail going through that, process, like I was just like, here I am. But uh yeah, for some reason that Thornton, man, whenever I see that shit, I'm just like, fuck, dude,
Because those are really like pivotal points in your life. You're a teenager and you're supposed to be having fun. You're supposed to be kind of fucking up a little bit. You should
yeah,
maybe steal your parents' car one time. You should
yeah,
maybe smoke a little bit of weed. You should be able to get drunk with your friends. I feel like those are all normal things. Get them out of your system and realize like, hey, like life isn't all about drugs and having fun and whatever.
right,
It's more fun to have a fucking graduate school, go to college, or be able to move on with life. And kids need to figure that out on their own. I don't think it's fair for anybody to be put in a place like this in an institution and be left there. Like, do you feel like at all that you're like, do you feel anything like you were abandoned when you were there?
I definitely did. And to kind of touch on what you just said, like I feel like, like when I got out of the military and all that stuff, and I finally came back to California for the first time, and I got around my old homeboys and stuff, I felt like they've been here this whole time, right? And they're going through the paces of life and everything, they definitely like matured a lot more than I did. Like I was still, stuck on like, I don't know. I just feel like a chunk of my life was removed from the real world, right? So like it took me extra to like trying to get my shit together and figure out how to live a normal life. You know what I mean? Like,
Bro, I feel the same way. I'm 35 and it didn't take me till I was maybe 30, like 5 years ago to really
yeah,
to really stop and be like, okay, I think I fulfilled that 1 year that was so shitty. I was only there for a year, but that 1 year is fucked me up so bad that now I'm doing a podcast 20 years later. I didn't even own a computer before I did this podcast. I
yeah,
bought a
yeah,
computer just to do this thing, and
right,
and that's how crazy this place is.
yeah, yeah. That's crazy, dude.
So yeah, it took me 13, maybe more years to
Yeah,
realize like, okay, cool, it's smarten up. I got my license maybe at 30. I started cutting hair and became a barber maybe like when I was like 32, something like that.
yeah, yeah.
And I'm so happy in my life. Everything's great except now I feel like I can finally maybe touch on this and kind of work on this, you know?
Yeah, yeah, I'm with you, man. And good on you, man. Like, I see you got your business going and stuff like that. That's fucking rad, man.
Oh,
Uh,
thank you, man. Appreciate it. And I was gonna say earlier, like it looks so much fun, all the fishing you're doing. Like you got all those pictures up, and
yeah,
I was just talking to my bro today. He's like, "Oh, I went fishing for the first time and caught a salmon," and I'm like, oh,
nice.
and he's like,
Yeah,
we gotta do this, bro. We gotta do this."
do
And I'm
it.
like, "I want to,
Salmon.
yeah."
It's good up there too, where you're at.
Well, get your ass up here.
I will.
Take my bro. Well, you'll teach us
Yeah,
how you do it.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, for myself, you know, I I had a rough patch, like after I got out of the military and all that stuff. And I was wild in the military too. Like I wasn't ready for it. Like I was like, I got my first duty station was in Korea, and over there, like when you go out on the town, like they don't care how old you are, man. So I was just like fucking drinking, fighting, hooking up with chicks, like my chick from Sorensons, I found out like, she was like talking to other dudes, towards the end. But that like destroyed me. So I was like, you know what, fuck chicks. Like I'm just gonna use and abuse them. And that's what I did. And I was like, dude, like out there, the bars stay open all night long, So I'd be drinking until the sun came up, getting in trouble by the MPs for fighting, just running amok. Um,
It's wild.
yeah. And you know, I came back home. I was working in a tattoo shop that was like owned by the Hells Angels. So we were like going down to, like Hollister and stuff like that for the motorcycle runs, and just getting in fights in there. The cops are coming in, fucking pulling me out of my fucking booth, doing all that stuff. And so it just shit was kind of crazy here. So then I split to Colorado. I lived there for 12 years.
Oh wow.
I ended up settling down after a while. Bought a house. Then I actually, let me back that up. Like I was with a girl there. It kind of went to shit, and I just like self-destruct mode. I started like raging again, partying. Like got
Because
back.
it's all we know at that point, you know.
Yeah,
You get a
yeah.
little bit taste of the good life, and if something fucks up, you go right back to the
Like fuck
old
it, I ain't got
ways.
shit to live for. I'm just gonna fucking be wild. Uh, I ended
Eventually,
up.
it gets old, though, you know. And
It does. It does. When I got arrested for aggravated robbery and menacing with a deadly weapon, right? And
oh, yeah, it's serious. That's serious.
serious time, like those are two felonies, and then with a crime of violence, they tack on a third felony. And I ended up taking a plea deal, and which dropped the aggravated robbery because there's no what is it? There's no like probation for that. Like there's a mandatory minimum of 5 years for aggravated robbery, right? So they told me they would drop that, put me on a deferred sentence, which means they told me if I stay out of trouble for 5 years, uh, everything will go away. Like I was never even
Like
charged with.
pardoned or something.
Yeah. Um, so I did, kept my nose clean, kind of like I just didn't get caught doing anything. But once I was done, I was just like, you know what, fuck, done with this shit. I started, like chatting with my wife now, and she come out to visit, and we kind of started that relationship. I still, had to finish up my community service and do all that stuff. But I got it all squared away, and I actually work for a school district now, which here like you can't be a felon, and I work for a school district, but I got
Well,
in.
well, I feel like people like us who have been through this kind of stuff and have turned our lives around are going to be the best people, like best teachers, best
Yeah,
therapists, best whatnot, because
Right.
we've been through it, everything, and we overcame it, and we kind of have a lot to offer, you know?
Yeah, yeah. Um, Speaking of community service, the barn that was at the big barn at Sorensons, I built that, dude, working off community service hours.
What?
Like me and we, yeah, like I had so many community service hours
From
from
when you ran away and went to Las Vegas?
no, one of the guys that was there, like when I first had got there, he was from New York, right? He got to go on a home visit, right?
Okay.
Well, he when it was time for him to come back, like his parents just like gave him his plane ticket, or I can't remember exactly how it was. But anyways, like I don't know if it was on the way there or on his way back. They just like gave him his plane ticket, like, all right, see you son, blah blah blah. Well, what he did was he ended up
Not
just
good.
yeah. Oh, so he got a home visit. They took him on a vacation. They didn't take him to New York. So when the vacation was over, they gave him his ticket to come back to Sorenson's. And one of the staff members was going to pick him up from the airport. Well, he was able to exchange it for a ticket to go back to New York, and he just went back, and he was gone for a long ass time. Well, I guess he got tired of doing, whatever he was doing out there. He told me he wanted to get his diploma, so he ended up coming back, right? Well, a lot of the old people that were there were gone. I was like one of the only, familiar faces that he knew. It was me and some of those cowboy guys that I kind of told you about earlier. And uh, well, when he came back, dude, he brought back a bunch of heroin, China white heroin, right? And yeah, he was like, "Hey, dude, fucking, you know, do you ever fuck with H?" I'm like, "What are you talking about?" He's like, "Heroin." I was like, "Nah, dude." He's like, "I have a bunch." I was like, "Fuck, give me some, dude." Like so. Yeah. So we were fucking doing like little bumps of this heroin. Like, dude, it's wild, man. Just like a little bit, man. Is all it takes. But
Oh yeah, I've
uh,
I've I've dabbled in that in my drug
yeah,
days.
yeah. And dude, he had just had hella bindles, dude. Like hella bindles. And well, he ended up having to go to the fucking mountain, right? I still feel bad to this day for it, but he gave me his stash, right? And he's like, dude, just fucking hang on to me. I gotta fucking go up on the mountain, I was like, yeah. Well, that shit's so fucking addicting, dude. I just kept fucking bumping it, right? Well, I guess he gave some to those fucking cowboy kids too, right? And like I remember being in class fucking nodding off in school, and I fucking look up at one of the cowboys, dude, and he's fucking just staring at me like,
I
yeah, I
want
know,
some.
yeah. And he was like, bro, he fucking hit me up. I'm like, dude, I ain't fucking giving you shit, And anyways, that poor guy, man, he comes back off the mountain. He's like, yo, where's my shit, man? I'm like, I'm sorry, bro. Like, you can have anything I have, but I did all your shit, dude. Like, he was so
You're
upset,
like,
man.
you had your fun in New York,
Yeah,
like.
dude. Yeah. I mean, it was a fucking dirtbag
So
move,
how
but
did you get community hours? Did you get caught or
so
something?
so yeah, like those guys, I don't know. I can't remember if they ratted me out because I wouldn't give them any, or because he gave them some. I can't remember how we got ratted out. And so they took us all down, drug tested. Of course, we all fucking pissed hot, and actually ended up getting charged with possession with intent to distribute.
And they had no evidence. They had nothing. Just it was in your
No,
system.
just from what was in our system. And but yeah, like I ended up, getting a bunch of community service. I think it was just like misdemeanors on my record, but like my folks had to like pay to get my record expunged and all that stuff, from all that. But yeah, I did a lot of work on that fucking barn back there, man. Did most of the roof and a bunch of other shit.
That's wild.
Yeah.
So you went right back to level one and everything
Oh yeah.
after that
Oh,
point.
oh yeah. All that jazz. So,
Wow.
but yeah, I did have fun working on that barn. I kind of wanted to like go into the construction field, after doing that, using like the nail guns and all that stuff. I thought it was cool, but
Well, hey, I mean, when you're in a place like Sorenson's Ranch and you're kind of able to
Yeah.
do that job. It's probably a little more fun than most of the stuff you
Yeah.
do there anyway, which is
Yeah.
kind of ironic because you're doing community service where it's not supposed to be fun.
Right.
And you're like, oh, just can I have some more hours so I can
Yeah. Yeah.
keep working on this bar? And this is way better than being beat the shit out of and abused and tortured.
Yeah, some guy he got in big trouble. He had jammed up one of the nail guns, so you could just pull the trigger, and it was like blasting nails. And he was like fucking shot like a couple chickens, that were like running around back there.
That was another question. Did you witness or see any like abuse on any of the animals there or neglect?
A little bit. Yeah, I seen one dude. He's like, one guy had pulled me over to the uh, uh, farm. He's like, watch this, dude. And he just like took a big ass rock and just fucking cracked one of the pigs over the head with it. It was fucking
Killed it?
It didn't kill it, but man, that thing screamed like it was fucking dying, man. It just made me feel weird,
That makes me
But,
sad just hearing it. Jesus Christ.
yeah. And then have you heard of Brian McGinnis? Do you remember have you heard of
Who the fuck's that?
So this guy, he was not allowed in the farm section of the ranch because he had been caught multiple times like having sex with the goats and chickens and all that stuff. They called him Brian McGotis,
There's another podcast where it could have been the same guy or a different guy, but there's a story that you're gonna hear eventually, and it might be the same person.
Yeah, I'm sure it is. Like he was a fucked up dude. I heard he ended up like killing himself, like jumped off a building or something like that.
I was gonna ask that too. Were you witness anybody there who tried to commit suicide?
Yeah, my buddy that whose brother who busted us out, like he was very suicidal. Uh, we had actually like cut him down. He like tried hanging himself with some of that baling twine, and yeah, so we had to fucking lift him up, and we took the fucking key, and
Was he? Do you think he was suicidal before he went to Sorensons Ranch?
yeah, I think that's why he was there. To be honest with you, yeah, he just I mean, I think he smoked a little bit of pot and stuff like that, but he wasn't like a crazy drug addict. He was just like fucking hella depressed. And I'm just like, man, like
That's sad. Yeah.
it's very sad,
I mean, at that age, you have so much more life for you, and
yeah, you just have no idea, like what life has in store for you.
I feel like there's a lot of kids there that attempted that or tried to do that or thought about that on a daily basis, and
Yeah.
and it was mostly because they couldn't handle being in this place, and
Yeah. It's something else, man. Then I would see like rich kids, like their folks just didn't want to deal, like they wouldn't like clean their room or something when they were told, and
and that's why they got sent to this place.
yeah, and they would get sent to this place, and then they fucking leave, and then they would come back all strung out because they learn all this shit from us, like
Yeah, they would literally come there, never even heard of drugs, and they would leave and they go home and do all the drugs.
do all this shit. Yeah.
I kind of was like that a little bit too. I went there, I only smoked weed, I did mushrooms every now and then, I drank, and I left there, and I ended up going to living in the streets for a while and running away, and
Yeah.
I was doing everything you can think of,
Yeah. Yeah.
and because I knew all about it, I didn't even know what meth was before I went to Utah.
Right.
Like growing up in Montreal, and like I didn't know what any like half those things were,
Yeah. Yeah.
I was like one of those guys. I was like, I'm only gonna do it if it's natural, if it comes from the earth. So I'll smoke weed, I'll do some mushrooms, and I'll drink.
That's a good game plan, dude.
Yeah, and then I get sent there, and I'm just like everyone's talking about it. I'm learning all this stuff, and I'm just like, by the time I'm like there for 6 months, I'm like, I kind of want to try cocaine.
That shit sounded great.
Yeah, the way the guys these are talking about it.
Yeah.
So I kind of can relate with that a little bit too. I mean, I wasn't no angel. I was a punk rocker, and I was going to punk shows and never coming home and staying at friends' houses. And I'm pretty sure my parents too were waiting for me to come home a few nights, and I didn't come home, and I just happened to be home that night where the two cowboys came in and picked me up.
Yeah.
And Yeah, it's wild.
Crazy. Did you tell your parents like how it was
By the,
like
well,
after you got home?
well, by the time you get discharged, you're kind of like so jaded from the whole thing and so happy to be out of there and so grateful. You want to just kiss the ground that you walk on when you get
Yeah,
off of the plane. And then
yeah,
again, with that being said, though, as well, I remember living at the off-campus house because I just peaked. I was smart.
right.
I had a head on my shoulders. I knew what to do for some reason. I don't know, had God
Yeah,
on my side or something, but I was off the off-campus house and you were able to get calls. You weren't able to make calls on this little orange phone. I don't know if they had that orange phone there when you were there.
I don't remember what cut. Yeah, I don't remember what it looked like, but
Well, it just looked like something out of like an 80s movie or something. Like,
yeah, I'm
but I
sure it
remember,
was.
yeah. So I remember my mom being able to call me and she would call often and she was happy to have a relationship with me, even though I was so far, she was able to call me and she felt happy that I was safe and not on the streets.
Right.
But eventually I kind of realized that, hey, I'm going to be here till I'm 18 years old. This sucks. Like, this is horrible. I'm level 5. I did everything I can. In my head, I'm like 3 months. Okay, I'll be out of here because I did so good. 6 months. Okay, I'll be out of here. I've been so good. I'm like, why the fuck aren't I getting
Yeah, yeah,
discharged? And they kept saying, oh, you need to keep working your program. He's not ready yet. He's not ready yet. And I'm like, I know this is all bullshit. They're just
I want
fucking,
that money.
they want that money. This is fucking bullshit. So every time my mom called, I would try and very calmly and very maturely try and speak to her and say, not say too much because I didn't want her to call the staff or the staff to call her, and I was paranoid and
Yeah,
brainwashed. And
yeah,
I would say things like, I really miss you. I wish I could be closer to home, and maybe I can go finish my high school at the boarding school you sent me to that I was when I was a kid, so I'm at least closer to home.
yeah,
And for some reason, that got to her, and she decided that it was a good idea because I wouldn't be living at home or I wouldn't be on the streets or around my old friends. I would be
right.
at this other facility, and I was doing so good there. Why wouldn't I do good there, right?
Yeah,
So I convinced her, and I did so fucking good at this place I went to. I didn't get in trouble. I was doing school. I was doing really, really, really good there. And I was on my way to graduate and I was happy. I was still like had way more privileges in my mind because I was able to like go off in town, have a cigarette, and maybe
yeah,
go smoke some weed and like put sagebrush in my fingers or trees so it don't smell and
yeah,
Visine. And I was so ready because I went to Sorensons Ranch. I knew how to manipulate. I knew how to hide
right.
shit. So
Yeah,
I was killing it at this boarding school and just being like you said, just sitting back and like, oh, this is great.
right, right.
But then one day at school, they decided that they weren't going to give me my weekend pass and I'll sign off for it. And I thought it was very immature of them to just be like, not give me when I was waiting for him to help me with the assignments that I couldn't figure out, he was just kind of like avoiding me. And if the bell rang and I didn't get his signature and I didn't finish the assignment, I wouldn't get my weekend leave. And I thought it was just so immature the way they were treating me. And I was like killing it. Like I was like top student,
Yeah,
you know?
yeah.
So I fucking jumped in somebody's car and went away and lived in the streets and never looked back. I ran away from my parents. They didn't find me until I hitchhiked back to Montreal, and they found me at one of my brother's friends' houses, and all his friends like swarming the house. Actually, they tricked me. One of his friends was like, "Oh, you like weed?" And she opens up her closet, it's full of weed, and I'm just sitting there rolling as many joints as I can. Next thing you know, my brother and all his friends come in, and they like convince me to go home and see my mother, and like,
That's it.
yeah, it was heavy.
That's wild.
Yeah.
Huh.
And ever since then, I remember telling my mom, maybe we could hang out and drink coffee sometime or something. And then I went
Yeah,
off and lived in the streets and like I'm 18 anymore. You can't fucking do anything.
right, right. Yeah,
Yeah.
I have a relationship with my folks now. It hasn't always been easy though, uh, like you know, like my whole time I was in the military, I wasn't really talking to him. I was just kind of fucking running wild. Of course, I'm sure it was like I knew I was fucking up and I just didn't, you know, like didn't want to talk to him. But then, you know, like when I was really running wild in Colorado, I didn't talk to them for like 5, 6 years, you know.
Oh wow.
Um, I actually had moved back to California and they didn't even know it. I was like kind of living up in the mountains. And uh, I ended up moving back in town, like, you know, where I was raised and stuff, and kind of start building a relationship. And we're good now, you know.
That's good.
I got, I got a little,
Family's important. Family's important, man.
it is, you know, I got a little 7-year-old son. Like he's the shit. Like he's so smart. He's so cute. Like he's just like killing it, you know. Dude, he does good in school, and he's just like, you know, like now that I have him, it's like there's no going back. You know,
Yeah,
like
and you're at the point in your life where if something wrong goes happen, you're not gonna go back and start using drugs. You're gonna just be
nah,
like, you're gonna be like a man, and
yeah,
you're gonna fucking deal with it.
yeah.
But it only took us maybe a little bit longer to get to that point because we felt like they did something to us there. They kind of put us through some kind of shit that it's hard to explain. But when you said it took you a while to mature and you saw your friends maturing, I felt the exact same way. I see all my friends finishing school, getting jobs, having kids,
Yeah,
just stop partying and just being mature people. And I was always the one that was just kept going and going and going and going. And took me a long
same.
time to really get to that point. And I feel super proud of you
Yeah,
and stoked to hear that you're there, man.
yeah. I appreciate that, dude. You know, it definitely I definitely feel like it. Like, yeah, it's great. You know, like you get your diploma and all this stuff or whatever. You know, but you're definitely like set back. You know, from the rest of like your peers or society. You know, because like everybody's just fucking moving forward. You know, but we were like, you know, just fucking forgotten about. You know, like we're in the middle of fucking Koosharem, Utah, you know, like
Yeah, I think back then it was a 500 people population. And I think I saw something, a clip on the internet about it being about 300 now population. And it's so funny because
oh really?
I couldn't find any positive or negative things about this place at all. It gets either taken down, shut down, and it makes me angry to the point where it's like the one clip I found was some news reporter saying that something about Koosharem, and they didn't even mention anything. And then the one guy saying like the something about the worst thing that happens here is all their kids, they move away right away as soon as they grow up,
Yeah,
or something. And it just hadn't, they didn't even like shine any light on the ranch, and you can't find anything. There was an article that was written that I read a month ago from 2017 about, I forget the first name, but she was a Sorenson, and she went to LA and slept with a kid there, and she went to jail. I went to go read that to someone on a podcast the other day, and it was taken down.
I seen something about that on the page. My wife actually, when I told her about it, I'm like, hey, there's this dude like doing this podcast, like check this out, you know. And I was like, so I told her about it, and I was like, and then somebody else is like saying that it's like getting shut down or something. So she started kind of digging it. So what did you find? It was like
they had a inquiry about the labor camp.
okay, so yeah, there was like something going on about like the labor like campsite of it. Like,
Oh, it was so Utah place might be shut down because of repetitive work and or something like that.
they're like profiting off the work or something like we were doing. And
So yeah, well, what I asked someone in the previous podcast was, what was up with the hay? Do you remember like going off farm, off Sorenson's property and hauling hay on other farms?
I fucking bailed so many. I hauled so many bills. I hate to. I couldn't even tell you.
But my question is whose farms were we baling the hay for? Because it obviously wasn't just Sorenson's. There was
No,
like,
we didn't have that many animals to feed all that hay to.
so who's getting this free labor, and are they feeling like they sleep at night knowing that this labor that they're getting is coming from these kids, these troubled youth that are getting
all their relatives. That's got to be all their relatives, you know, that own their ranches out there.
That's why I think it's a cult. They're all just like, yay, who gives a shit? Like, this is how we run things here.
Yeah.
That's crazy, man.
It's shady, dude. For sure.
Definitely. I was thinking about that recently because it never came to mind before. I never thought about it. But now I think about it, I remember just baling so much hay all year long. Didn't make sense.
Yeah.
And we were paying, like, at my time, about $4,000 a month to be there.
I think it was 3 when I was there. They must
So think about how much money they're getting by each student each month, and they're feeding us shit, and they're not giving us any money, and we're all sleeping in a cabin that has maybe like one electrical outlet just to put the lights on.
Yeah.
And like it literally probably cost them like $1,000 to run the whole entire place a month.
Seriously. I heard on, you guys were talking about the food on the first one that you just released, and I don't know if it was you or the other guy was saying like everything kind of turned into like prepackaged, like prefab stuff. Now, when I was there, I kind of like have a little bit of an opinion on this. Like when I was there, it was all like they cooked everything, right? And the food wasn't like bad, you know, but it was a lot of starches and a lot of like heavy, like, I don't know if it's just from them being cowboys and that's how, you know, those guys eat, or if they do it, I've always been under the impression that's what they do, because like I said, like when I got in there, I was 120 pounds, right? And when I left there, I was 108. I had gained 60 pounds. You know, some of that has to do with, you know, a lot of that, you know, has to do, I was so obviously like I was emaciated when I got in there from the drugs, but I feel like they were feeding us like these heavy starchy foods to pack the weight on us so they can say like, hey, look at your kid, look how good we're doing. Look, they're gaining all weight. They have color in their skin and this and that, you know, like.
It could be, but I don't think they were even that smart, to be honest.
Yeah, I might be giving them a little too much credit for sure.
Yeah.
You know, I just, you know, you think about this kind of stuff and it's just like, you know.
I feel like the food can't be that bad if they're, you know, and it was probably cheaper then for them because they're getting all the food themselves there, the chickens and whatnot. And
right.
But of course it can't be that bad if it's fresh farm food. It's like it's not going to be bad.
Yeah.
And if it is bad, like they're really doing something wrong, you know?
I remember that cook, she was fucking mean, man. Like she was one of the ones that used to get in a lot of trouble because of my cowlicks on my hair, you know. What was
her name? Do you remember?
I can't.
Was it like Edna or some shit, or am I just thinking of like The Simpsons or something?
I want to say like it was like Miriam or I don't know. It might have been Edna.
Because there was one there, and I'm the always one that brings this up, and no one remembers. But there was this one girl, the main kitchen person, and I just found her to be like so horrible. And she like the only way I can describe her, and I'm not trying to be an asshole, is that she had a fucking mustache. Like
that might have been her too. I mean, she would have had to been gray by the time you were there, but she had like a dark brown hair, like when I was there.
She was like to the point where like this woman scared the living fucking daylight out of me.
It sounds like the same chick.
And she would I don't know if you had this when you were there, but she would inspect everybody's hands. She would make sure there'd be a little thing of sanitizer.
Yeah.
And she would watch as everyone comes up to get their plate that they sanitize their hands first. And she would literally like look at them and smell them. That she was so intense about it. It scared the shit out of me.
I don't think hand sanitizer was a thing when I was there, but she was definitely inspecting our hands. Like you couldn't have any dirt under your fingernails. Hands had to be clean, washed. You know,
But you're
that's-
living on but you're on level 1, living on a farm, shoveling
Yeah.
horse shit. How are you not gonna have dirt on you?
Yeah, it's got to be the same chick, dude, for sure.
Yeah, she was horrible. Horrible.
Wow. Yeah. Her and that guy fucking Norm, man. I'd like to come across that guy one of these days. You know?
Even after 30 years, like I still want to knock him
Yeah.
out.
Yeah, you know, I don't care if you're an old man. I want to fucking punch you in the face, dude. You know,
I
didn't bother
understand
me.
where you're coming from.
It didn't bother him beating up on kids. You know, why should I care if he's an old man? You know what I mean?
Just looking at these questions. Yeah. Did you, man, these questions for this one doesn't really make sense because we've touched so many subjects. Like, is there any other stories that you can think of that come to mind or?
Yeah. My wife's like, did you tell the story about the escape to Las Vegas?
Yeah, that was like the first hour of our podcast.
Oh yeah, I told him about the barn. I don't know, man. I think I kind of, you know, I covered a lot of
Do
it.
you want to maybe wrap it up for this time and maybe we can reconvene and do another episode somewhere down the line here?
Yeah, let's do that, man. Unless you have any other, like, you know, specific questions, you know.
I'm sure once I end it, I'm going to be like, oh, I should have brought that up or that, but that's just the way it is, you know.
And I'm sure I'll think of some stuff too, you know. It's just,
we'll keep it for the next one, and
yeah,
it'll be nice to have another chat with you and maybe another beer with you, and
I definitely want to keep in touch with you, man.
Yeah, man, definitely.
It's been a pleasure. Yeah.
So let's end it here, and we'll definitely get back together for part 2, and I'll definitely be in touch, man. You'll be hearing from me.
Yeah, sounds good, brother. Take care of yourself, huh?
You too, bro.
Man, later.
All right. So I hope everybody enjoyed that episode. I thought it was probably the most interesting, one of the most interesting podcasts I've done so far, which was more of a recent recording, but I kind of decided, hey, let's share this one. I feel like it's very fitting with the Brad and Katie one, the first one, then hitting you with something a little bit older, having their point of view, and yeah, and we'll see what we'll do for the next one. We've got some really great stuff and some surprises and things that are gonna shock you and scare you and reminisce and this and that. So look out for episode number 3 next week. And thank you so much for joining us. All right. Have a great week, guys.